Today, we re-enter the period of the church year that we call ordinary time. This is generally recognized as being a time when there is nothing special going on in the church. So in the past, they simply counted the Sundays by ordinal numbers. First Sunday, second Sunday, third Sunday, etc. And this led to it being known as ordinary time. So in ordinary time, there are no holidays, no Christmas or Easter, Pentecost, no special feasts, no Ascension, or any of those other things that we think about when we think of special church days. Pastors often really look forward to ordinary time because it gives us a chance to relax ourselves in a way, to lead our congregations away from the lectionary and read different scriptures, explore new concepts, and to find God in the ordinariness of daily life. We often refer to the grace of the ordinary. Except this year, we are hardly experiencing ordinary lives, and we definitely are not living through ordinary times. In fact, these are extraordinary times of great historical significance, an opportunity for all of us to be a part of the changing, not just of our communities, but of our country and of the world. We have realized this year that we cannot continue to live our ordinary lives as much as we would like to. Things that we've taken for granted, hugging, shaking hands, visiting, eating out, attending church, even something as simple as going to a backyard barbecue. These have stopped because they have become dangerous to all of us. The social niceties themselves have been brushed aside by a pandemic the like of which we have not seen in at least 100 years. We have no idea yet what the fallout of this COVID-19 will even be. We're finding things out as we go along, learning new ways to live, aren't we? Weddings have been canceled or reduced to bare bones. Graduations have been done by drive-by, or by other creative methods. Our connections have been challenging. Even funerals have been put on hold. How do we stay in touch with each other as Christians, as members of a community of faith? How do we stay in touch with God and with ourselves? It's been hard for me, as a pastor especially, to try to keep up with all of you, to wonder what's going on in your lives, how the little things of your ordinary world are going. I miss the hugs. I miss you all. But I have finally found out which meetings could really be handled through an email. On top of all the issues with the virus, we experienced the death of George Floyd a few weeks ago, murder of a black man by a white police officer. And this has suddenly forced our country to do some very uncomfortable soul searching as we examine how we as a country, as a society, as a world, and as our communities treat people of color. But it's not just our society and our communities. We need to do soul searching as the Church universal and as First Baptist Church in particular. We all have places that we can improve. We all have things that we can change. We realize that suddenly, people that we have known and loved for a long time have put their hearts and their lives out there to make us see them, to make us finally understand that they are tired of being discriminated against, to help us see that their lives have not been as easy, perhaps, as our lives have been, with some of the things that we take for granted. I have friends that have told stories of being treated with suspicion, having the police called on them for something as simple as taking a jog through a neighborhood, being stopped by the police for driving a nice car, or even for doing a paper route in the mornings, walking through traditionally white neighborhoods. I've heard stories of how they've had to change their own voices, their own behaviors, their own opinions, just to be accepted into a predominantly white culture. And how they are oh so tired of being treated with condescension, and that they are and that they're tired of the racially motivated jokes and harmless comments that hurt so much, and that they simply are just not going to stand for it any longer. These people are not criminals. These are our friends, our neighbors, our family members, and they're hurting. And we, as their family in Christ, have an obligation to stand up with them and for them. So we are confronted right now by the reality that life as we know it is about to change, and it's about to change permanently. And I think that many of us are confused by how we should respond and behave. Most of us are coming from a place where we didn't have firsthand experience of what it was like being treated with prejudice and racism. Suddenly old jokes and old books and old TV shows and things that have, in a way, been a part of our lives for so many years have been revealed as being subtly racist in ways that we never realized. What we thought was ordinary to us was all too ordinary to people that it hurt. So how do we handle all of this? How do we handle the virus and the separation? How do we handle being disconnected and still somewhat alone? How do we handle watching society as we know it shift around us? How do we handle being a part of history in ways that we never expected? And where is God in the midst of all of this? Where, we ask ourselves, is that grace that God promised us? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines grace as unmerited divine assistance given to humans for their regeneration or sanctification. In other words, grace is God reaching down to us to help us through the times of change and renewal. Grace is God embracing us as we regrow, helping us replace that which we have lost, that which was lost along the way, and holding us as we are reborn into God's new creation. It's God helping us set our hearts and our minds on the holy things in life. Now, we will not always agree on everything. We will not all have the same experiences. We won't all share the same viewpoints. We will understand things completely differently because we are all completely different people. We may become angry and depressed, scared, confused, and worried. Some of us find ourselves overanalyzing everything we say, worried that we're giving an offense to the point where we're tongue-tied. or we don't know what to say, and so we say nothing at all. And maybe sometimes that's the best thing that we can do. Because when we don't speak right away, we listen. We listen for God's voice. We listen for that still small voice inside of us, telling us who we are and which way we ought to go. We listen to the stories of family and friends and what they've discovered about themselves and about each other during this quarantine and lockdown. We listen to the best things that have come out of it. And we listen to the stories of our neighbors and loved ones of color. The stories that tell us how they feel and tell us what they need from us in order for this world to become a better place in God's love. We might not know what to say, but we mustn't stop trying to say it. Because God did not ultimately call us to remain silent. Indeed, once God has gifted us with his powerful grace, God charges us to then re-gift that grace freely and abundantly to everyone. It's true that we have lost a lot over the last few months. We've lost friends and loved ones. We've lost our health, our ways of life. We've lost precious moments that we looked forward to. We've lost our certainty. And I think all of us have at some times lost our hope. But we have gained so much. We've gained so much in understanding and in a willingness to open up. We've gained an opportunity to change how we are God's people, to change how we are a church, to change the world for the better. The grace of these extraordinary times is God's constant strength and presence. We know that God is present in any changes that come our way, still loving and still loving us. We may be broken now, but remember, God values a broken and a contrite heart. After all, it's through those cracks that the light of God gets in and shines back out onto a hurting world. Amen.